Okay, let's dive into a topic we all deal with, literally every single day: power. It's this force that shapes our careers, our relationships, our whole lives, really. But what if we've been looking at it completely wrong? You know the feeling, right? That frustration with office politics, the endless meetings that go nowhere, this constant sense that you're playing some kind of game, but nobody ever told you the rules. Man, it is exhausting. And it just feels like such a massive waste of energy that we could be using to, actually solve problems.
And it's not just a feeling. Some research suggests that a staggering 70% of an executive's time is burned on internal power struggles instead of creating real value. Just let that sink in for a second. More than 2/3 of their effort is just lost to internal friction, not to moving things forward.
This dysfunction can go so deep that companies will literally hire expensive consultants not because they actually want the answer, but just so they have someone to blame when things inevitably go wrong. It's this classic scapegoat phenomenon, and it's a huge red flag that the system itself is fundamentally broken.
But what if this whole struggle, all this friction, is based on a complete misunderstanding of what power even is? What if we could just reframe it, and in the process, create much healthier, way more productive ways of working together? So here's a radical reframe, an idea inspired by the thinker Bert Hellinger. Power isn't about domination. It's not a thing you can hoard. It's actually a dynamic force that flows to whoever can meet a specific need in a specific moment.
Think about it like this. A super high-powered lawyer with a screaming toothache has absolutely zero power over a dentist. Why? Because the dentist is the one who can meet their urgent need. But if that same dentist gets slapped with a lawsuit, well, guess where the power shifts? Right back to the lawyer. It's not static, it moves with our need.
Okay, so if power is really just about meeting needs, why are our workplaces so often built on conflict and distrust? Well, the answer lies deep in our history. It's a mental model we inherited without even realizing.
For thousands of years, the main way to get huge groups of people to cooperate wasn't through partnership or trust. It was the master-slave dynamic, a system built entirely on coercion, on force, and on fear.
As we scaled up from tiny clans to massive nations, the very glue that held us together changed. Trust was slowly replaced by force. War and conquest created this new model, the conqueror and the conquered, the master and the slave, and that established a pattern of forced cooperation that, believe it or not, we still unconsciously follow today.
Now, this fear-based model creates its own kind of logic. If you're in that subordinate position, the only rational thing to do is work just hard enough so you don't get punished. You would never reveal your true potential, because if you do, it doesn't lead to more reward, it just leads to more demand.
And this creates this vicious cycle of distrust, right? The master pays the absolute minimum because they're afraid of being taken advantage of. And the employee does the absolute minimum because they're afraid of being exploited. Sound familiar? It's a lose-lose game. Every single time.
But there is a much, much better way to work together. And it represents a massive upgrade for everyone involved. It's about shifting from this low-trust, low-output game to a high-trust, high-output partnership.
This is the fundamental shift we need to make. It's about moving away from that old model of coercion and towards relationships that are actually built on mutual trust and shared goals. The whole point is to create a system where everyone feels like a partner, not an opponent.
And the results are, well, they're staggering. Studies have shown that when organizations make this shift from fear-based to trust-based systems, productivity can skyrocket by up to 200%. And it makes sense, right? When people feel trusted, they unlock all their energy and creativity, instead of hiding it just to protect themselves.
So the big question is, how do we actually build this trust? Especially in a world where, let's be honest, people make mistakes and betrayals can happen. Well, game theory actually gives us a surprisingly simple roadmap.
The winning strategy in all these evolutionary simulations is something called generous tit-for-tat. It's pretty simple. 1. You always start by trusting. 2. You mirror your partner's last move. But 3, and this is the absolute secret sauce, you occasionally forgive a betrayal. That one move is critical for breaking the death spiral of retaliation that can start from just a single misunderstanding.
All right, so how do we make all of this really actionable?
because understanding these ideas isn't just theoretical. It gives you a whole new set of tools to navigate your own world.
You know that famous line. But true power really isn't just about meeting needs. It's about taking responsibility for the results. It's about being accountable. In any system, real, legitimate power flows to the people who are willing to answer for the consequences, both the good and the bad. When you take responsibility, you earn power.
Another key part of this puzzle is something called optionality. And it's really simple. The more choices you have in any situation, the more power you hold. This isn't about controlling other people. It's about increasing your own freedom to act and adapt as the situation changes.
So here's the big takeaway. You gain real, sustainable power, not by dominating people, but by genuinely understanding their needs, by building systems of trust, and by increasing your own options. When you do that, you stop being a pawn in someone else's game and you become a player who can actually shape the outcome.
So it all comes down to this. If your true power comes from the needs you're able to meet, the final question is really for you. What needs around you, on your team, in your family, in your community, what needs will you choose to meet?